477.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information. It's a week you will not want to miss. In fact, you could call us here in studio, 312-642-5600. Speaking about our studio is full with some experts and panelists with a lot of information to share. First up on the program is our returning guest, my good friend, Albert Ferguson. Albert, welcome back to Get Down to Business.
Thank you very much, Shalom.
Absolutely. So we are now, I can't believe it, more than halfway through the year, and my wife and I were actually just walking around in the mall, and we saw a number of winter items starting to be put out in the stores. And that's a sad reminder that the cold is coming, and perhaps many people need to start thinking about how are they going to stay motivated, stay active as the weather, the good weather starts to go away. Albert, I know you've given a lot of thought to that question. What advice do you have for folks?
I certainly have. Indeed, Labor Day is right around the corner. Kids are going back to school. It's a time for a change. And the question is, what exactly can people do to keep themselves motivated, especially on both the fitness and the health and the nutrition front? I found it can be very difficult at times when people have these long-term goals. This is what I want in 3 months. This is what I want in 6 months, to be motivated by the daily what to do. So I typically set up something called a token economy for myself, where, right now I'm looking to do something over the course of the next 8 weeks. And if by the end of that time I've been able to accumulate enough points, my tokens, then I get a reward. And if I'm not able to accumulate enough points, then I have something that sort of runs in the opposite direction.
So let's talk practically.
Sure.
As when you talk about points and tokens and things like that, I like what you're saying. That's the positive side of things. I think often people think about the guilt. They feel bad about something that they did. You're talking about sort of positive motivation. What do you mean when you do the tokens? Does that mean you could go wild and crazy and eat whatever you want and do whatever you want? How do people with a busy professional life? What is a good lifestyle regimen look like?
Right. Good question. Well, the first thing is you want to take baby steps. We're always looking at small steps. We're not trying to start and try and do everything all at once, because then the likelihood that you'll sort of collapse in on itself can occur, right? So what we're looking for is it could be something very small. Like, hey, I want to reduce my portion size by 25%. I want to reduce my sugar intake by 50%. And every day that I'm able to do that, I'm going to put a quarter in a jar, right? By the end of the time, it would amount to 56 quarters. If I have 50 or more, then I'm going to go out for a night in the town with my best friend Liz. If, on the other hand, I have 50 or less, then I owe my daughter $300 towards a tattoo that I told her she cannot get, right? Which means that it's not going to happen. So, but on a daily basis, it's really important that you figure out what it is that you need to do, and you give yourself a little bit of leeway. For me, I have 56 days. I have 50 days in which I actually need to hit my targets. And on those targets, if you look at a normal week, 4 of those days need to be perfect. 2 of the days can be good. 1 of the days can be okay, but I'm not really allowing myself any day where I just completely slip. So if, I have a regimen, and I'm very specific, and if that's, hey, I'm going to take the stairs up to work, and I'm going to make small reductions for my meals or what have you over the course of this time period, if I'm able to hit those goals on those days, I reward myself.
Albert, 56 days is a long time.
It certainly is.
The key word they used before is motivation.
Correct.
How, at the halfway point, how do you stay motivated? How do you, when you're really not seeing the real results quite yet, how do you stay motivated and stay energized to hit those goals?
Right. Well, that's just it. Nothing motivates like results. And see, when you see the coins building up, that in and of itself is some form of motivation. Sure. When you've made yourself accountable by letting other people know what your goals are, what your plans are, so they can sort of keep a watchful eye. My daughter will be keeping a very watchful eye, okay, because she wants to make sure that I don't quite hit my target. That's really one of the ways that you stay motivated. And if you commit yourself to the process, don't get me wrong, the end is important, but if you commit yourself to the process, you will see results. And so over the course of time, by the time I hit the halfway point, I will have seen some serious progress that hopefully will fuel my motivation in addition to the token economy that I've established.
Albert, do you believe in comparisons? Do you believe that folks should look at somebody else and sort of be a little bit jealous? Do you believe that's a good way of motivation?
I do not. I believe that the goal is always to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. Of course, there's always some sort of aesthetic value to being healthier. But, your goal is really to be able to have as much energy as you need to get the things done that you need to and to be the person you need to be for the ones that you love in your life. And that's really more about you than it is about the person beside you or a person you see in a magazine every Sunday.
So the outcomes. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Bottom line, people. What are the common themes that you've heard from some of the people that you've spoken to? And again, we're chatting with Albert Ferguson, who really is an expert on this topic of health, wellness, fitness, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those concepts over the next few minutes. And Albert's talking to us about motivation. What are some of the common reasons that people have shared with you about why they want to do it? I don't think anybody enjoys being punished. People don't enjoy inflicting limitations on themselves or walking upstairs. Bottom line, it's all about the goals. It's all about the outcomes.
It's all about the goals. It's all about happiness. It's all about having more energy and being a better person and doing the things that you feel you want to do with more energy with the people you want to spend your time with. It's, again, very difficult if you try to make a wholesale difference, try to make a 180-degree turn. But if you are incremental, if you say, hey, I just want to make this small step over the course of these next 10 days, then I'm going to take another small step over the course of the next 10 days. If it takes 21 days to create a habit, it is exceptionally difficult to try and create 20 habits at once. So you fixate on one that's the most problematic, you work on that. Over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, you can make a true lifestyle change that will have a lasting impact.
Okay, and for our busy professionals that are tuning in this evening here on Get Down to Business, so we talked about a few of those sort of ideas that people can implement. You mentioned taking the stairs. You mentioned cutting portion sizes, reducing sugar, all those sort of things. For the busy professional, what are some of the things that they can do, realizing that they are likely getting up early in the morning, working until late at night, and running around meeting with people all the time? How can they squeeze in anything more into that seemingly cramped schedule?
Right. Well, there's sort of the concept of sharpening the saw, right? That's told about sort of the two lumberjacks who are competing to cut down trees, and the one who actually goes away to sharpen the saw, even though he spends time away from cutting, actually ends up cutting down more trees within the time frame. You need to take time for yourself. And even if that's in only 45 minutes in the morning, if it's 45 minutes in the evening, if it's 45 minutes in the middle of the day, to make sure that you're doing some small incremental change that's going to lead to you being actually a more productive professional.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, Albert, let's talk a little bit about the types of things that you and your team are doing. Fitness Matrix, you have actually 3 centers where people are actually coming out. And obviously it makes it easier when you have that team system and sort of that buddy approach, that positive reinforcement and encouragement. Tell us a little bit about the different programs that you have in place to help people.
Right, absolutely. Well, in the 3 facilities, we have one that's a Lean Effects class, which is all about people who are interested in tightening and toning, people who may not have a whole lot of experience lifting weights, but it's a class atmosphere, so you feel sort of the camaraderie of the people around you, the energy of the people around you, and the friendly competition of the people around you to sort of do your best. And it's a very small class. It's offered very early in the morning, so the busy professional can get it done before he or she goes off to work. We also have functional fitness classes that are martial arts classes. Some people don't really care for treadmills. They don't care for devices. They'd rather do something and learn something while they're getting fit. So we have classes of that nature as well. And then we have corrective exercise classes as well at our other space for people who may be suffering from long-term injuries. And what they're really trying to do is make small adjustments in sort of the balance of the musculature in their body in order for them to operate optimally.
And I know this might sound like a strange question to the fella that is running these fitness centers, but do people actually need a physical location to go to, or is this something that you believe with the right motivation and encouragement that people can implement even those small incremental steps that can change their life?
I believe the small incremental steps can be done by yourself. You need someone who's going to hold you accountable. Sometimes a trainer is good. I know a lot of people who say, the only reason I pay you is so I'll show up. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't, right? It's that that motivation to get them out, to actually come and do something. So I would really prefer that people have something where they're working. It could be beside a friend. It could be beside a trainer. You just want to make sure that you're safe and what you're doing is efficient. And that's really where I come in.
Such important timing right before Labor Day, and as the weather starts to the warm weather starts to disappear, and people are starting to buy their cold clothing and get ready for new seasons ahead. Kids are going back to school. New jobs are starting. Now is the time to think about getting motivated. Albert Ferguson, we always appreciate you coming on the program. You shared a lot of information. How can people get a hold of you if they want to discuss further?
They can get a hold of me. Email address, getfit@thefitnessmatrix.me.
Fantastic. And on that website, folks can learn more about some of those classes that you shared?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Albert Ferguson, The Fitness Matrix. We appreciate your expertise on the program. We'll be sure to have you back on real soon. Coming up on the program, we're going to be talking more about small business jobs and entrepreneurship, more about the economy, more about the state of business in 2017, in August 2017. Lots going on, lots to discuss. We're powered by Tandem HR. We'll be right back after this quick break.